There is a version of you that is stronger than the person you are today. Stronger mentally, stronger emotionally, stronger physically, more disciplined, more focused, more difficult to manipulate, more capable of standing alone when everyone else is moving in the opposite direction. But here is the uncomfortable truth. That version of you is not going to appear simply because you want it. You cannot think your way into strength. You cannot wish your way into discipline. And you cannot become mentally unbreakable while constantly protecting yourself from discomfort. Strength has a price, and most people are unwilling to pay it. They want confidence without failure, discipline without sacrifice, respect without responsibility, success without discomfort, peace without self-control. But life does not work that way. Every strong person you admire has been forced to confront something inside themselves that they would rather avoid. Fear, laziness, ego, insecurity, anger, comfort, failure, rejection, loneliness. The difference is not that strong people never experience these things. The difference is that they stop allowing these things to control them. The ancient Stoics understood this thousands of years ago. They knew that life would never become perfectly comfortable. People would disappoint you. Plans would fail. Opportunities would disappear. Your reputation could change overnight. Your body would age. Money could come and go. And eventually, everything you possess would be temporary. So instead of building a life that depended on perfect circumstances, they tried to build a character that could survive imperfect circumstances. That is what strength really is. Strength is not becoming emotionless. It is learning how to control your response. Strength is not never being afraid. It is refusing to let fear make every decision for you. Strength is not dominating other people. It is becoming difficult for other people to dominate you. And strength is not proving that you are better than everyone else. It is becoming better than the person you were yesterday. Today we're going through 10 brutal rules for becoming stronger. These rules are not designed to make your life easier. They're designed to make you harder to break. Some of them may challenge the way you currently think. Some may make you uncomfortable. And one or two may force you to admit that the biggest obstacle in your life isn't another person. It might be you. So don't just listen to these rules. Examine yourself through them. Because if you actually apply them, you may discover something important. You don't need to become someone else. You need to remove the habits, excuses, fears, and weaknesses that are preventing the strongest version of you from emerging. Let's begin. Rule 1. Stop running from discomfort. The first brutal rule is simple. Stop running from discomfort. Most people organize their entire lives around avoiding unpleasant feelings. They avoid difficult conversations. They avoid uncertainty. They avoid rejection. They avoid difficult work. They avoid silence. They avoid being alone. They avoid failure. And eventually they become dependent on comfort. The problem is that comfort feels harmless while it is happening. That's what makes it dangerous. You wake up and reach for your phone. You feel bored, so you scroll. You feel uncomfortable, so you eat. You feel stressed, so you distract yourself. You have an important task, so you tell yourself you'll do it later. Someone criticizes you, so you become defensive. Something doesn't go your way, so you complain. Every small escape seems insignificant, but repeated thousands of times, those escapes become your personality. You train your brain to believe, if something feels uncomfortable, I should escape. And that is exactly the opposite of strength. Strength develops when you learn, I can experience discomfort without immediately obeying it. Think about physical training. You don't become stronger by lifting weights that never challenge you. The resistance is the point. The difficulty is the mechanism. Your muscles adapt because they're forced to deal with something difficult. The same principle applies to your mind. Every time you willingly do something difficult, you teach yourself that discomfort is survivable. Wake up when you said you would. Finish the workout when you don't feel motivated. Put your phone away when you're tempted to scroll. Have the conversation you've been avoiding. Work on something without immediately looking for entertainment. Spend some time alone with your thoughts. Do something that makes you uncomfortable but makes you better. These experiences build psychological resistance, and eventually something changes. The things that used to intimidate you become normal. The work that once felt impossible becomes routine. The conversation you feared becomes something you can handle. The silence that once felt uncomfortable becomes peaceful. This doesn't mean you should seek suffering for no reason. Stoicism isn't about making yourself miserable. It's about refusing to become dependent on comfort, because comfort is a terrible master. If you need perfect conditions before you can perform, you are not free. If you need motivation before you can work, you are not disciplined. If you need everyone to approve of you before you can move forward, you are not independent. So start small. Choose one uncomfortable thing every day. Do it deliberately, not because you hate yourself, but because you're training yourself. You are telling your mind, I don't need to escape every difficult feeling. And that is where strength begins. Rule 2. Keep promises to yourself. The second rule is one of the most important. Keep promises to yourself. Think about how easily people make promises to other people. I'll be there. I'll finish it. I'll call you. I'll help you. But when it comes to themselves, the standards suddenly disappear. I'll start tomorrow. I'll wake up early tomorrow. I'll start exercising next week. I'll stop wasting time. I'll finally work on my goals. And then tomorrow comes, and the promise disappears. Do this enough times and something happens beneath the surface. You stop trusting yourself. You may not consciously realize it, but your mind remembers. You said you were going to do something. You didn't. You said you wouldn't repeat something. You did. You said you would become disciplined. You chose comfort instead. Eventually, your own words lose credibility, and that destroys confidence. Real confidence doesn't come from constantly telling yourself that you're amazing. It comes from evidence. You trust yourself because you've repeatedly demonstrated that you can rely on yourself. That's why discipline creates confidence. Imagine telling yourself, I am going to exercise for 30 minutes. Then you do it. The next day you do it again. You don't need to post it. You don't need someone to praise you. You simply kept your word. That creates something powerful. Self-respect. Now imagine doing that with your career, your finances, your health, your relationships, your education, your personal development. Every completed promise becomes another piece of evidence. You begin to think, when I say I'm going to do something, I actually do it. That belief is incredibly powerful. But there's an important detail. Don't make enormous promises. Don't tell yourself you're going to completely transform your life overnight. That's emotional motivation, not discipline. Make smaller promises. I'll read 10 pages. I'll walk for 20 minutes. I'll work for 1 focused hour. I'll put my phone away during dinner. I'll go to bed at the time I plan. Then keep the promise. Consistency beats intensity, because the goal isn't to impress yourself for 3 days. The goal is to become someone you can trust for years. There will be days when you fail. That's normal. The answer isn't to declare yourself a failure. The answer is to return to the standard. If you break a promise, make a new one. Then keep it. Strength isn't perfection. Strength is reliability. And one of the strongest people you can become is someone who knows, I can trust myself. Rule 3. Control your emotions before they control you. The third rule is brutal because it requires you to take responsibility for something many people blame on circumstances: your reactions. You cannot control every emotion that appears inside you. Anger can appear, fear can appear, jealousy can appear, sadness can appear, anxiety can appear. You don't always choose the first emotional reaction, but you have more control over what happens next than you may realize. This is one of the central ideas of Stoic philosophy. There is a difference between experiencing an emotion and becoming controlled by it. Someone insults you. You feel anger. That's human. But then you have a choice. Do you immediately respond? Do you say something you'll regret? Do you send the message? Do you make the decision? Or do you pause? That pause is strength. Imagine someone pushing a button on a machine. They expect a predictable response. Push the button. The machine reacts. If someone knows exactly what makes you angry, they can control you. If someone knows exactly how to make you jealous, they can control you. If someone knows exactly how to make you desperate for approval, they can control you. But when you develop emotional control, you become harder to manipulate. You create space between what happens and what you do. That space is freedom. The next time you become angry, don't immediately speak. Pause, breathe, ask, what exactly happened? What am I assuming? Is this actually important? What response would I respect tomorrow? That last question is powerful because many emotional decisions feel satisfying for 10 seconds and damaging for 10 years. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need the last word. You don't need to prove that you're right. Sometimes the strongest response is silence. But emotional control doesn't mean suppressing everything. Ignoring emotions isn't strength either. Your emotions contain information. Anger may tell you that a boundary has been crossed. Fear may tell you that you're facing uncertainty. Sadness may tell you that something matters. Jealousy may reveal something you want. The goal is not to destroy emotions. The goal is to understand them without allowing them to become your commander. Your emotions can sit in the passenger seat. They don't get to drive. And once you understand that, you become much more difficult to provoke. You stop giving random people control over your mood. You stop allowing one bad conversation to ruin your entire day. You stop making permanent decisions based on temporary feelings. That is emotional strength. Rule 4. Stop needing everyone's approval. The fourth rule is one of the hardest. Stop needing everyone to approve of you. Human beings naturally want acceptance. We want to belong. We want to be liked. We want recognition. There is nothing wrong with that. The problem begins when approval becomes more important than truth. You start changing your opinions depending on who you're around. You don't say what you really think. You accept disrespect because you're afraid of losing someone. You avoid opportunities because you're worried about being judged. You choose a career because your family expects it. You stay in relationships because you're afraid of being alone. You spend money to impress people who aren't even thinking about you. And eventually, you build a life that looks acceptable from the outside, but feels completely wrong on the inside. The Stoics understood that reputation is unstable. People's opinions change. Someone can praise you today and criticize you tomorrow. If your emotional stability depends on public opinion, your peace will always be fragile. You need an internal standard. Ask yourself, am I acting according to my values? Did I do what I believe was right? Did I behave with courage? Did I act with discipline? Did I treat people fairly? Those questions matter more than, did everyone like me? Because here's the truth. Someone will dislike you. Someone will misunderstand you. Someone will criticize you. Someone will think you're strange. Someone will think you're not good enough. That is unavoidable. You cannot build a meaningful life while trying to prevent every possible negative opinion. Imagine trying to create a painting that everyone likes. Impossible. One person likes it, another hates it, another doesn't care. So why would you expect your life to receive universal approval? You don't need everyone to understand your path. You need to understand it yourself. And this doesn't mean becoming arrogant. Confidence doesn't say, I'm better than everyone. Confidence says, I know what I stand for, and I don't need everyone to agree. That's different. Strong people can listen to criticism without being destroyed by it. They can accept useful feedback. They can admit mistakes, but they don't surrender their identity to the crowd. If you constantly need approval, you're handing strangers the remote control to your life. Take it back. Rule 5. Accept that life is unfair. The fifth rule is brutal. Stop expecting life to be fair. This doesn't mean you shouldn't fight injustice. It doesn't mean you shouldn't stand up for yourself. It doesn't mean you should tolerate mistreatment. It means you need to accept a reality that cannot be changed. Life does not guarantee equal outcomes. You can do everything right and still lose. You can work hard and still experience failure. You can be kind and still be betrayed. You can prepare carefully and still face unexpected problems. You can have good intentions and still be misunderstood. That's life. And if you spend your energy constantly asking, why me? You may never get an answer. But there is a better question. What can I do now? That question moves you from victimhood to responsibility. Imagine two people losing the same opportunity. One spends 6 months complaining, the other spends 6 months improving. The event was identical. Their responses were different, and their futures become different because of that response. You don't control everything that happens, but you have influence over what you do next. This is where the Stoic idea of control becomes powerful. Some things are within your control: your effort, your choices, your preparation, your behavior, your attitude, your response. Other things are not fully within your control. Other people's opinions, the past, the weather, random events, other people's decisions, the timing of opportunities, your reputation, the outcome of every attempt. When you confuse these categories, you suffer unnecessarily. You spend energy trying to control what cannot be controlled. But when you focus your attention on what is actually yours, you become more effective. You stop asking, "Why didn't they choose me?" and start asking, "What can I improve?" You stop asking, "Why did they betray me?" and start asking, "What boundaries should I have had?" You stop asking, "Why isn't my life where I want it to be?" and start asking, "What can I do today?" That doesn't eliminate pain. It transforms pain into information, and that is strength. Rule 6. Learn to stand alone. The sixth rule is uncomfortable. Learn to stand alone. Not because you don't need people, you do. Human beings need connection. Friendship matters, family matters, community matters, but there is a difference between connection and dependence. If you cannot be alone without feeling worthless, you have given too much power to other people. Some people stay in unhealthy relationships because being alone scares them more than being mistreated. Some people maintain toxic friendships because they don't want an empty weekend. Some people constantly seek attention because silence forces them to confront themselves. They aren't necessarily afraid of loneliness. They're afraid of themselves. Learning to stand alone changes that. Spend time without constant stimulation. Go for a walk without your phone. Eat a meal alone. Work on something without telling anyone. Sit in silence. Travel if you can. Read, think, journal, exercise, build something, and notice what happens. At first, it may feel uncomfortable. Your brain may demand stimulation. You may feel like you need to check messages. You may wonder what everyone else is doing. But gradually, you become comfortable in your own company. And something important happens. You stop choosing people simply because you are afraid of being alone. You begin choosing people because they genuinely improve your life. That's a completely different position. Neediness says, "Please stay because I can't handle being alone." Strength says, "I value you, but I can survive without you." That doesn't make you cold. It makes your relationships healthier because you're no longer asking another person to complete you. You're asking them to walk beside you. Learn to enjoy your own company because if you can stand alone, you become much harder to control. Rule 7. Do the work even when nobody is watching. The seventh rule is about discipline. Do the work when nobody's watching. Most people are motivated by external rewards: praise, likes, money, attention, recognition, status. But external motivation is unreliable. There will be days when nobody notices. Days when your effort produces no immediate results. Days when your progress feels invisible. Those are the days that determine who you become. Anyone can work hard when everyone is cheering. Real discipline appears when the audience disappears. Imagine training for months and nobody notices. You still train. Imagine working on a skill and receiving no praise. You continue. Imagine building something and getting no immediate results. You keep building. That is how mastery is created. Quietly, repeatedly, without applause. The world usually notices results. It rarely sees the thousands of boring repetitions that created them. People see the successful person. They don't see the years of failure. They see the finished body. They don't see the workouts nobody posted. They see the successful business. They don't see the nights spent learning. They see confidence. They don't see the years of uncomfortable self-correction. So stop measuring your progress by attention. Measure it by repetition. Did you do the work? Did you improve? Did you keep your commitment? Did you become slightly better? That's enough. You don't need to announce every goal. Sometimes announcing your plans gives you the emotional reward before you've earned the actual result. Build quietly. Let the results speak. There is power in becoming disciplined enough that your behavior no longer depends on whether anyone is watching. Rule 8. Stop making excuses. The eighth rule may hurt. Stop making excuses. Not because every problem is your fault. It isn't. People face real disadvantages, real obstacles, real losses, real unfairness. But there is a dangerous difference between explaining your circumstances and using your circumstances as an excuse to stop moving. You cannot change what already happened. You cannot rewrite your childhood. You cannot control every mistake someone made against you. You cannot control the opportunities you didn't receive. But you can decide what happens next. The strongest mindset isn't, nothing bad will happen to me. It's, whatever happens, I will find my next move. That is resilience. Excuses are attractive because they protect your ego. If you fail because you're incapable, that hurts. But if you fail because of circumstances, you can protect your identity. Sometimes the circumstances really are responsible. But if you constantly blame them, you lose the ability to change. Ask yourself, what part of this situation is mine? Maybe it's only 5%. Take responsibility for the 5%. That's where your power is. Maybe you can't control the economy, but you can improve your skills. Maybe you can't control someone else's behavior, but you can establish boundaries. Maybe you can't control whether someone gives you an opportunity, but you can prepare so you're ready when the next opportunity appears. Maybe you can't change your past, but you can stop repeating it. Responsibility is not self-hatred. It is power. Because the moment you take responsibility for something, you gain a place from which you can act. So don't ask, whose fault is this? Ask, what can I do about it? That question will change your life. Rule 9, choose long-term respect over short-term pleasure. The ninth rule is about delayed gratification. Choose the life you respect tomorrow over the pleasure you want today. This is one of the greatest battles of modern life. Everything is designed to give you immediate stimulation: food, entertainment, social media, shopping, gaming, notifications, endless videos, instant information, instant communication, instant gratification. The problem is that your future is built from your repeated choices in the present. Every day you're voting for a future version of yourself. When you exercise, you vote for strength. When you study, you vote for knowledge. When you save money, you vote for freedom. When you sleep properly, you vote for energy. When you practice a skill, you vote for competence. When you waste 5 hours scrolling, you also vote. You're voting for the person you will become. This is why discipline is not punishment. Discipline is self-respect extended into the future. You're saying, I care enough about tomorrow's version of me to make today's version uncomfortable. That is powerful. The weak choice is often easier now. The strong choice is often better later. You don't have to eliminate pleasure. You don't have to become a machine. You need balance. But you must understand the difference between enjoyment and escape. Enjoyment leaves you refreshed. Escape often leaves you needing more. Ask yourself before a decision, will I respect this choice tomorrow? That question can stop you from doing many things. Before spending money, will I respect this purchase tomorrow? Before sending an angry message, will I respect these words tomorrow? Before skipping your workout, will I respect this decision tomorrow? Before wasting another hour, will I be glad I spent my time this way? You don't need perfect decisions. You need more decisions that respect your future, because your future self is being built right now. Rule 10, become the person you would respect. And finally, the 10th rule, become the person you would respect, not the person other people expect, not the person social media tells you to become, not the person who looks impressive from a distance. Become someone you personally respect. Ask yourself, if I met myself as a stranger, would I respect this person? Would I respect how I use my time? Would I respect how I treat people? Would I respect how I respond to failure? Would I respect how I behave when nobody's watching? Would I trust this person? Would I want this person as a friend? Would I want this person leading my family? Would I trust this person with responsibility? These questions can be uncomfortable, but they are useful because strength is ultimately about character. You can become physically strong and still be weak inside. You can become wealthy and still be controlled by insecurity. You can become successful and still be terrified of criticism. You can gain status and still hate yourself. External achievements cannot replace internal character. Character is what remains when nobody is applauding. It's how you behave when you're angry. It's what you do when you're tempted. It's whether you keep your word. It's whether you admit when you're wrong. It's whether you treat people who cannot benefit you with respect. It's whether you can lose without becoming bitter. It's whether you can win without becoming arrogant. It's whether you can stand alone without becoming lonely. It's whether you can experience fear without surrendering to it. That is strength. And you build it through thousands of small decisions. Not one dramatic transformation, not one motivational speech, not one perfect morning routine. Small decisions, again and again and again. The final challenge. Now let's bring all 10 rules together. Rule 1. Stop running from discomfort. Learn to experience difficult feelings without immediately escaping. Rule 2. Keep promises to yourself. Build self-trust through action. Rule 3. Control your emotions before they control you. Feel everything, but don't obey everything you feel. Rule 4. Stop needing everyone's approval. Live according to your values instead of chasing universal acceptance. Rule 5. Accept that life is unfair. Stop wasting your energy demanding that reality be different. Rule 6. Learn to stand alone. Build enough independence that loneliness doesn't force you into bad decisions. Rule 7. Do the work when nobody is watching. Build discipline without needing applause. Rule 8. Stop making excuses. Take responsibility for whatever part of the situation belongs to you. Rule 9. Choose long-term respect over short-term pleasure. Think about the person you're becoming. And Rule 10. Become the person you would respect. Because at the end of the day, that's the real goal. Not becoming powerful so people fear you. Not becoming successful so people envy you. Not becoming rich so people admire you. Not becoming disciplined so you can look superior. Become strong so you can carry responsibility. Become disciplined so you can control your life. Become emotionally stable so other people's behavior doesn't destroy your peace. Become independent so fear doesn't make your decisions. Become courageous so you can act even when you're uncertain. And become wise enough to understand that strength without character is just another form of weakness. There will always be days when you don't feel strong. Days when you question yourself. Days when you fail. Days when you're exhausted. Days when someone disappoints you. Days when your plans collapse. Days when you wonder whether you're making any progress at all. Those days don't mean you're weak. They mean you're human. Strength doesn't mean never falling. It means learning how to stand back up. It means refusing to let one failure become your identity. It means refusing to let one rejection define your worth. It means refusing to let one bad day become a bad life. You don't need to transform everything tomorrow. Start with one rule. Choose one weakness. Find one behavior you've been avoiding and change it. Then repeat, because the strongest version of you isn't created in one moment. It's created through repetition. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you become stronger. Every time you choose silence over unnecessary conflict, you become stronger. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you become stronger. Every time you face fear instead of running from it, you become stronger. Every time you accept reality instead of arguing with it, you become stronger. Every time you choose your future over your impulse, you become stronger. And eventually, something remarkable happens. You stop needing to convince yourself that you're strong. You know, because you've seen the evidence. You've watched yourself endure. You've watched yourself change. You've watched yourself continue when quitting would have been easier. And that's where real confidence comes from. Not from telling yourself, I'm unstoppable, but from knowing, even when life becomes difficult, I can handle what comes next. That is strength, not perfection, not dominance, not fearlessness, resilience. So don't wait for life to become easier. Build yourself until you can handle a harder life. Don't wait for motivation. Build discipline. Don't wait for everyone to believe in you. Learn to believe in your actions. Don't wait for perfect circumstances. Use the circumstances you have, and don't wait to become someone you're proud of. Start becoming that person today, because one day you will look back at the choices you're making right now, and you will either be grateful that you started or wish you had. The choice is being made every day, every hour, every decision, so choose carefully. Choose discipline. Choose courage. Choose responsibility. Choose patience. Choose character. Choose strength. And become someone you can trust when life gets hard. That is the kind of strength nobody can take away from you. And once you build it, you carry it everywhere.